You ever have one of those moments where you look back and realize just how far you've really come? Well, that's where I'm at right now. Over the past year and a half, I've sat down with voices that move the city, creatives who are shaping culture, and visionaries who are turning ideas into action. What started as simple conversations turned into something deeper, something real. This episode, I'm going to take a look back through each experience I've had with each guest. I will reflect and appreciate that journey that I've been on so far. Whether you've been here since day one or you're just tuning in, I appreciate each and every one of you on this journey of handing out the Motor City Crowns. Welcome back to the Motor City Crowns podcast. Today, this episode is going to be with just me, and it's going to be a bit of a reflection point. I've done about 25 episodes so far. We're going to do a little bit of a recap and go over all the experiences I've had as a podcaster. I feel like every single one of these episodes that I've done have been special to me. And it's because I'm not doing this for clout. I'm not doing this to get likes and clicks and all that. Yeah, I like when people enjoy the content. I like when people can get good information from this and understand the people that I'm interviewing. So if you like this episode, great. If you don't, oh well. So we're going to go episode by episode and just talk a little bit about it, because I feel like each person was special in their own way. Let's get into it. So I started the podcast off with SW Freddy, which huge artist in Southwest Detroit. I've been a big admirer of him for years. I have, let me show you. I have one of his spray cans that he did. I think it was last year or maybe just before that. I'm not sure. Yeah, I got a few other of his prints. I got some t-shirts, sweatshirts with some of his artwork on them. So he was somebody I really wanted to kick off the podcast in a strong way. And with that episode, after I recorded it, which I didn't even have a camera at that point, after I recorded, I listened back to it and the audio was complete dog shit. So if anybody actually listened to that episode and you listened all the way through, man, I applaud you, because it's not great. One, I got to record it at his house, and he got hardwood floors, and we set up in the corner where he had a little table to sit at, and it echoed and everything. And I didn't really think too much of it, but overall, the content is good. If you can hear the words, if you can understand what we're saying, it's good, because he's got so much knowledge, so much information, and such a passion for art. It's a really good experience for me and for anybody who's really listening. So, and at first he wanted to set up in his basement where he does a lot of his projects. And I realized that really wasn't a good space, because it would have echoed even more. Cement walls and all that probably wouldn't have been great, but it would have been aesthetically pleasing down there, because you've seen, he's got paint over here, he's got his spray cans, he's got canvases everywhere. It was cool though. So walking into his place was like walking into a gallery. He was telling me all about the pieces that he had hanging up. A lot of the pieces he had hanging up weren't his own. They were friends that he's made over the years. People from all over the world. He told me one guy was from Central America. One guy was from Europe. He had a friend put a huge mural on his wall at his house. And his house was a friend of his who had passed. And so like the house itself, with all the art, with the history of his friend who was also an artist. It just had a lot of history, a lot of special meaning to everything that was there. So SW Freddy, if you end up watching this, I really appreciate being able to have you as our first guest, because it meant a lot to me, and hopefully it, meant a lot to the people that enjoy watching and listening to the show. I didn't have a camera at that point, so yeah, you weren't watching it. So let's move on to episode 2. That was MavOne, Mav at Motor City Street Dance Academy, MCSDA. He is an incredible individual. He has that academy, which they do. They teach breakdancing, breaking. They teach kids how to make beats. They do classes for other levels of dancing. I know they have a lot of art and things of like visual arts, and they've expanded since I even interviewed him then. That was a year and a half ago. So they expanded. I know he's remodeled part of the building to be able to have artists come in and have like a residency, I believe it was. But they've done so much. They host events at that space. They host other people's classes. Like, people come in and teach classes. They do community talks there. They've done a lot for the community, not just with those types of events, but they went out and they did, every year they do a float with Cinco de Mayo in the parade. And they do some crazy, wild, huge floats, which looks amazing. So if you're interested in possibly getting in touch with Mav to get in a class for you or your child, or one of the other services that they offer, I will put information down in the down there. Can't think what it's called. Yeah, sure. Episode 3. So episode 3 is with my friend Gaby Hemlok. She's a barber, she's a DJ, and she's a fitness trainer. And we've been friends for a few years, and I felt it was important to have her on the show, because even though she's not from Detroit, not from the area, she's created her own like niche like family, since she is she's part of the LGBTQ community. So she's kind of made her own way with that community and expanded farther. She has a ton of clients when it comes to cutting hair. And at the time that we had recorded, she was cutting hair out of her home. And we were just chilling on the couch, just talking, and she got pretty deep with some of the stuff she was talking about, which, I definitely appreciate. And the audio on this one was kind of not as great as the first two, with SW Freddy, it was just echoing. With MavOne, we were inside a spot inside the building. It was an old liquor store, so it was like a freezer section. You open the door, you get in there, and I guess they shoot podcasts in there anyways, and they do other types of things in there. But I thought it was cool with MavOne. I know I'm cutting back on the episode 3 one, but I want to go back over this because I think it's important to the ambiance of what was going on. So in that little freezer section at MCSDA, we're recording, and then he's like, he's talking about how he's got other people just literally in the space. They're practicing. They turn on music. They're practicing breaking and everything, which, you got to get warmed up. So you put on music, you get to dancing and all that. That felt amazing to just sit there and talk, have the mic right there, and listen to this background beat, to seeing these people out there, and they're spinning and they're jumping and they're flipping and they're doing whatever. It was like almost perfect to have that in the podcast. That's a backdrop of all these beats and everything, and it was great because you couldn't say, hey, can I do that real quick? Can you put that on for me so I can have something? No, that's just natural to what that place is all about. So moving back over to the episode with Gaby in episode 3, she talks about her experiences in the gay community, experiences growing up and dealing with the negativity from her father and how she's overcame that. It was a great experience to understand her better, and it was great to hear about how she even got to Detroit and created that community within a bigger community. So let's move on to episode 4, Sonia Rose, which maybe some of you don't know. Sonia owns Calavera Rose, which at the time when we recorded this episode was located in Allen Park off of, I believe it's Park Avenue. And her shop is a spiritual shop or a healing shop of a nature. She does tarot readings. She does mentorship. She does a lot of and I know they sell sage and things of that nature. I'm not too versed in that knowledge, but if you listen to the episode, she can give you a little bit more knowledge. And Sonia is very, very passionate about the things that she talks about. And it was very good content in that way, because I was so locked in that I didn't want to interrupt her in the interview. I was like, oh, okay, I don't know anything about this. I'm going to shut up and get the details of what this is all about. So in that episode, I even edited it really done, because I still didn't know what I was doing. And the way I edited it, I took something out and I added what I asked in the middle of it. I cut it out. It was really weird, really stupid. So if you listen to it, again, this is still the beginning of the podcast. I hadn't learned a whole lot of how to record the right way, how to edit the right way, and how to even really interview the right way. So as I move on with this, I'm learning and I'm getting better. So the from the beginning to where I'm at now, episode 25, which hasn't come out as of recording, it's a bit of a learning curve. It's a bit of an experience that I'm going through. So I'm enjoying every part of this experience, because even though I might not hit the mark every single time, I'm hitting the mark of, what I'm learning. I might not have made it there, but I'm continually building, and I'm okay with that. I'm letting you guys see that it's not great sometimes, but I'm going to get better. I'm going to have better opportunities. I'm going to have better conversations with guests. I'm going to have better circumstances, So let's continue. Again, thank you, Sonia. That was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. And again, with Sonia and her shop, with Gaby and her information about where she DJs, where she is a fitness trainer and barbering stuff, I can put all that information in the description. Sonia, her shop has now currently moved to Southwest Detroit, where I know a lot of her clientele are, and just recently opened, I believe it was on Cinco de Mayo or the day before. So congratulations to Sonia, because I know opening your space after some major moving and dealing with, she was a big proponent in, sorry to interrupt again, but Sonia was a big proponent in helping the community with the flooding earlier this year, with the frozen flooding that happened, what was it, mid-January? So she was entrenched in that. She was helping with that in such a massive way that it definitely affected the way she ran her businesses. So a hand to Sonia for being that big helping hand to the community. Let's move on to episode 5. That is Victoria Baegish. She is actually the owner of Watercolor Connections, which, if you listen to the episode and watch it, because this was the first one I did on video, which was through Zoom, because I felt like, you know what, I'm going to accommodate whatever I can for these guests, because they're accommodating me. They're taking their time out of their day to be able to sit down with me, talk about their business, talk about their journey, and the least I can do is accommodate them in whatever way is best for them. A lot of these people have other things besides their business that I'm talking about. Victoria is Mav's girlfriend, and she is a big part of MCSDA now. She helps with a lot of their programming, a lot of their social media stuff, and she is an organizer in that sense too. So she took time with me over video. We did it through Zoom, and even though I wasn't in the room with her, it felt like it. Because when you're on Zoom, when you're on camera, like this, you can kind of see what's around. You can kind of see what stuff's in the background. You can kind of understand stuff. So in the middle of that episode, she talks about, I have these paintings that I've done. I've had these commissions that I've done. And she went over to the other room, came back, or took her. I honestly can't even remember. It's been so long ago. It was a year and a half ago now. Came back with them and showed us, hey, look, this is what I did. Turned the camera around. And it was great. I felt like I was right in front of her, being able to look at that art. And some of the other art that she does, which, let me show you. I went to one of her events, and I stopped by because I wanted to thank her for coming on and doing the show. And I actually had I got one of her portraitures done. And she did a great job. I think that almost spot on with everything. I love the colors. I had a blue hoodie on and it looked great. So yeah, got the big ears though. I can't do anything about that. So Victoria, she does this. She does the portraitures, and she's learning a lot more to do other types of paintings. And so again, I'm going to put information about how to book her, how to find more information. All their pages are going to be down in the description. Everybody's page is going to be down in the description about what their business page and how you can get a hold of them. Episode 6, Denise Lopez Avila. Denise is the owner of Vamonos, which her and her husband own Vamonos in Detroit. And it's a local community hub now. And it's grown to be so much more than it was when I was there to interview her. Now, on this episode, I went back to just audio. With Denise, we sat down in her space, which, again, the audio wasn't great because in her space in the corner that we actually sat down and recorded in was all brick. We had a table, I had my microphones, I had my Rodecaster, which that is like the audio interface. I had that over there, and some tables, a table and chairs. And from that point on, I knew it was echoing, and I'm like, oh man. The audio wasn't horrible compared to like the one with Freddy and Mav, but and that was a good length for that episode. So what she does at that space, let's talk a little bit more about that. What she does at that space, she's a big advocate for living a healthy lifestyle. So she now has like a kitchen in there that is built to serve food. Obviously, that's what a kitchen is for. They're big on different smoothies. sandwiches, drinks, and they host events there. They've hosted a few art shows. They've hosted a few small like pop-up markets. I know they do events where like anybody can like rent out the space to host those events, and it could be anything of any sort. Like I said, the art shows, there's many different kinds of art shows. She does Zumba classes out of there. There was other like dance things. There was like I think like a band played in there a few times. There was a lot of different things. I know a lot of women groups do things there. So yeah, all that information to see what she does, I'm gonna put her link in the description, her business, the Vamonos link, and you can click on her page on Instagram. I believe she has a Facebook page as well, and you can check all that out about what she does. I think that was a really good episode because she talks about how the issues that she had when she was at somewhere else, a business that she had somewhere else in Southwest Detroit, which, you know, some people aren't always comfortable talking about that. And, you know, some people aren't always truthful in what they talk about. So, and I only got one side of the story. I'm here to listen. I'm here to talk about it. And hey, you know what? It's part of the game. You got to learn, you got to build, and you got to move on with whatever information and resources you have from a past experience. So congratulations to Denise with everything that's going on at Vamonos. I believe that her spot, what she's doing there at Vamonos, is very important to the community. Let's move on to episode 7, which was one of my favorites. I named it Champions Overlooked because that's what Flacco and Freddy were talking about in that episode. This is Flacco Suave and Freddy Torres. Flacco Suave is a stage name. He is an artist. Simply put, he is a singer, rapper, dancer, and Freddy is a photographer, videographer, I guess now. And they both worked together for a long time now, which I didn't know. When I had looked at a lot of their stuff, I really didn't know that. I was just admiring the art form of what Freddy did with his camera. I was admiring the dances that Flacco did and the rap and the music that he was putting out. It was good. It was beautiful. It was, I don't know the word. It felt like it was hitting the right notes. And there's a lot of artists that put out music and it doesn't really hit a certain spot in what you're trying to listen to. You know what I mean? So when I started looking a little deeper, I said, hey, I see you guys work a lot. Like Freddy films his music videos or takes pictures of him. And I thought it was just more of a recent thing. I didn't know it was they've known each other for a long time, because I'd only started looking at their page a month or so beforehand. So I messaged them and I said, hey, I see you guys work together now. Would you like to be on the show together? I think that would be a good concept. And they were down for it. So it came out great. We sat down at the photo house, which is run by Xavier Cuevas. And I got to meet him for a second. We were setting up shop in there, put the camera up, which was Freddy's camera, by the way. I still didn't have this camera yet. Freddy was kind enough to let us film with his camera, which he had a way better camera than this. And I brought my mics, I brought my interface, and it worked out really well. I think the This one was on video. This was the first in-person video shoot that I had. And I liked it because they knew how to talk about the things they wanted to talk about. They knew how they wanted to present themselves. And they're a bit younger than me. They're probably about 10 years younger than me. So I knew that they kind of had their own style, the way they talked, a swagger a bit. And they're just really cool dudes. They had, I know they worked on a lot of projects together, so that chemistry between them was really good. The chemistry that we ended up getting as well. So I think that was really good. And I think the best part about doing these podcasts is I build a bit of rapport with every single person. And I continuously still kind of check in on them. Me, Freddy, and Swab, we kind of talk here and there. Not a lot, but we still talk here and there and have that rapport still going. A few of the other guests as well. Like I've become friends with quite a few of them, and I think it's great because that's part of the experience I'm getting out of this. I'm not just talking to them to make content and grow a following, or just to be like, oh man, I need these clicks, I need these views, so please, can you get on my show? I need these views, I need this. No, I'm not doing it for that. Fuck all that. That's not what this is. This is me trying to do something. This is a hobby. That's all this really is. I do take it seriously, and I am trying to get better at it. If people want to follow me, great. If people want to get angry that I'm interviewing certain types of people or people that they might not like, oh well. If it ain't for you, turn it off. So let's continue. Episode 8, Will Daniels. Now Will, he's actually a friend of my cousin, and I met him once before I met him on this episode. So this episode was the start of me filming a couple episodes and recording at the Living Room, which is run by Kevin Christian, which he is a guest coming up in a few episodes. So Will is the leader of his own band and entertainment company, the At Will Band. And he's the drummer. He's the one that kind of like leads the way, leads the rhythm. He's a musician in other aspects too. He just has like a pulse to him, a rhythm of how he thinks, how he operates, and you can see in his eyes, you can see in the way he walks sometimes that he's really passionate about music. He's passionate about being able to bring an experience to people. Will and his band are currently playing at the Willis Show Bar every weekend. I think, yeah, every weekend. And they switch out some of their musicians. Not everybody could make it, so they rotate drummers, they rotate singers. I know, so they bring in different singers every weekend to be able to, or every night of it, every weekend, to be able to have a different experience for the audience, which is amazing. And no, they don't own the band. Will does not own, or they don't own the bar. Will does not own the bar. Just happened to work out that way. So I love that episode because me and Will got a really good rapport on that. We ended up becoming really good friends, and we've hung out a few times, and me and a couple of the other guys that were on the episode, on the podcast, end up starting another podcast as well. Just had that good rapport. So that one will be coming out soon. I'll let you know. And anything you guys want to check out about the At Will Band, more about the performances at Willis Show Bar, I will put everything again in the description below. So, episode, which one is this? 9 now. Episode 9 was Mirage Virtuoso. I think episode 9 was a good point that I was going, like started to hit some good progress with making questions. So, Mirage, she is a performer in so many ways. She is a multi-talented artist. She sings, she plays a violin, she writes her own music, and she's a mental health advocate. She started her own festival. She was, she was a co-founder, maybe she was a founder. I'm not thinking straight at the moment, so I'm not 100%. She started, it was called the Zofine Festival, where they have musical acts and they have lots of other vendors there. And it's all about healing and the power of music healing. The healing power of music, I'm sorry. So in that episode, she was so brave in being able to share her experiences, her own battles, and just she was really resilient in how she's grew in as a person, and as an artist. So episode 9 with Mirage, that was a good one. No, this one wasn't on video. This was just audio. I believe I didn't get to full-time video for a couple more. So let's move on to episode 10. This one is with Kevin Christian, episode 10. And Kevin Christian, he is the founder of the Living Room, which is a space where they made a name for themselves. Him and all of his crew. When I say crew, I mean the people that are been in musical events with him. And a lot of these people, they were like starved in a sense, where they could not perform anywhere during COVID. So him and Mirage were a big proponent of this at the Living Room, to literally come and perform. And they did live shows over the internet, because they weren't just starved, people were starved. Audience members were starved because there was no audience, not in person. So they had to start somewhere. They had to be able to bring the music to you. And in that sense, they did, over the, I was going to say airwaves, over the internet. Kevin's also a self-taught singer and choreographer. He's also a producer. He's producing quite a bit of music for up-and-coming artists that are, I keep going back to that word starving, but that's not it really. They're just starting out. That's what I was trying to say. They're starting out because in his circle of friends, the circle of people that he's like gotten close to because of the music, he's opening these doors for these young artists. There's somebody who's coming out, I think they've already dropped their music. His name's TJ. Beautiful voice, great singer. Keep a lookout for TJ. And Kevin has now produced for him and produced for, I know, Mirage and a few other artists. He's also a singer who jumps on stage at the Willis Show Bar with the At Will Band, I believe at least twice a month. So keep a lookout for him. Again, all that information is going to be down in the description. So check out Kevin Christian on that. We are now on episode 11. And episode 11 was a good one. This is featuring Gabriel Duran. And he's definitely one of my favorite artists, especially from Detroit. He talked about his experience with music. It started at a young age, and it was because of his grandpa, which I think a lot of us can really relate to not just music wise, but like a lot of influence comes from our grandparents and who we are as people. And to be able to see that a musician who is amazing musician at that and grown into that amazing musician, he talks about his roots with his grandpa with music, and it's evolved from that. And his grandpa wasn't just a musician in that sense. He was a very big advocate for like community, really giving back to the community and helping lift others up. And we talked about it in this episode, which is, you know, I think a lot of people can relate to that as well. You know, it was a lot going on in this episode where some people can relate to what their grandparents gave them in a sense of lessons, like literal physical lessons of this is how we're going to do things. This is how you should be doing things in your life. And that came in his life. It was music, community. And a lot of people, you know, talk about, I seen my grandparents do this, and it's admirable, which it really is. And I would like to do the same thing. So that inspiration for becoming like your grandparents is good. And it was a beautiful story that he told, that giving back and letting other artists have that shine as well is always good as well. So check out that episode 11 with Gabriel Duran, and listen to his music. All that information is going to be in the description. Again, this is one of my favorite ones because his music is, I love it. Episode 12. This is another one I did on video. And again, I think I did this one on my phone. Didn't have the camera yet. I did it on my phone because I thought, okay, I want to start doing video. And my phone's pretty good. It should be fine. It was a couple years old at that point, but I thought it was good enough. So later on in this episode, it cuts out. And I believe it was maybe 5 minutes right at the end. And it just froze. I don't know what was going on with it. It just froze. It didn't record it correctly. But I got the audio in there. And we were very close to the end, so it didn't really miss a whole lot. Shane is an interesting person. Very interesting. He brings a lot of creativity to everything that he does. He is one of the people who help out with the Motor City Street Dance Academy with teaching breaking. He's also in a different dance called JIT, which is native to Detroit. And he is a DJ. I forgot about that. I just seen that on the description, a DJ. I forgot Shane is a DJ, but he DJs a lot of events. I know he was talking about he DJ'd a Juneteenth event in Grand Rapids, I believe. Yeah, because he just posted about it again because that's coming up again. It's mid-May and Juneteenth is next month. So he talks about his endeavors with biking and being organic cannabis. I can't think of the word. Like just being like an avid advocate of that, maybe. So Shane, as he goes by Shane Trees, which I guess about the cannabis, I don't know. I think we talked a little bit about that, which it's an interesting name, but it also is, I think it fits him because as a person, he was talking to me about how he's grew into what he is and who he is. He's growing like a tree. Trees last long and trees grow constantly. The leaves might fall off, but they grow back and they grow into something stronger. That was beautiful, wasn't it? Yeah. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna write that one down. let's move on. All right, let's move on to episode 13. Episode 13 was with Andre Brown. Andre is also not from Detroit. He is originally from Houston, Texas, and he is a tech-savvy electrical engineer. I know he worked at GM. He worked at a lot of other tech companies and Fortune 500 companies, as he was talking about, all around the tech space. So he's also a YouTuber and an inventor. And what I wanted to talk to him about was these inventions that he has, these inventions that he makes. And a lot of people might say, like, how is he an inventor? What has he invented? Well, I think the word inventor gets pushed around, and it's, people think of these grand scale things, like, oh man, I made a floating bed, or I made, a water powered car or something like that. Like, not all inventions are huge on a scale, and they're not huge in a way of people can see them everywhere. It's all about taking one thing that's useful, taking another thing that's useful, and putting them together. And he talks about that in this episode. And I know he has an invention now that's out, and it helps a lot of people that are hard of hearing. It has a few microphones on it and a sensor to be able to sense when noise is in an area, and then it lights up. And it's about how he puts them together, and it has many use cases. So if you're interested in that, again, I will put information down below in the description about Andre Brown and his inventions. So in the episode, we talk a lot about the discrepancies with Black people in the tech space. So we had talked about the discrepancies on this episode of what, why is it like that, and how can it get better? How can maybe companies can, push that in the right direction. So Andre was also he had got pretty popular on YouTube years ago, because I looked pretty deep on his YouTube, where he was cutting hair, and it came out of necessity in college for him. And he talks about, I don't know if he talked about it in this episode, I can't remember exactly, but we talked a little bit, either it was before or after, about how he's gotten sponsorships with hair products. And it was like barbering products, stuff about like shaping up beards, or getting like a lot of following other barbers, people that weren't barbers before they started, or weren't barbers before they started watching him, and then they did, and then they started to go down the path of becoming a licensed barber after watching his YouTube about cutting hair, because he cuts his own hair. So I thought it was a really interesting experience. I got to go to his place, and he's got his setup. He's got these little devices out. He's got soldering iron, and there was like little stations along his counter of different inventions or things he's taken apart to figure out what's going on inside them. And then he's got like a setup over in the corner, or was his computer stuff, and a green screen where he films his videos. And on his YouTube, on his videos on his YouTube page, he interviews other people in the tech space. And those people that he's interviewed were people he's come across while in college, while at these different Fortune 500 companies. And I think it was very interesting, because I always relate it back to what I'm doing, obviously, but he's doing something similar to what I'm doing with my podcast, and it's his own like niche, talking about tech, which is huge nowadays. Keep covering up my face. I gotta, show off the beard a little bit. Sorry. And I think it's important for people that are in certain spaces to be a leader in that sense of, hey, you know what? I'm going to put you up. I'm going to put you up. And it might not be in a big way. It might not be like, you know, I'm going to get you more views. I'm going to get you more people looking at you, and you're going to get another job. Maybe, most likely not. But it's the fact that he's going out and he's doing this because he feels like it's important, which I feel the same way about this podcast, that I feel like it's important to be able to highlight these people and give them a chance to tell their story. So I want to thank Andre Brown. Again, he's another person. I check in with him here and there. We talk about tech. We talk about sports here and there. Tease him a little bit about Houston football and other Houston sports. So yeah,